They have as we've said over the last couple of days, Nissan really do have a bulletproof package here. It rains and also gives them some advantage. Oh, this is interesting stuff.
Is it?
Graham Moore, I believe, at the wheel.
Yep.
Move over, Mr. Moore.
Taking the first stint in the Strathfield Car Radio's Commodore. Wayne Gardner will step in after. And Dick Johnson leaves him far behind as he works down Conrod Straight one more time.
Well, Dick, in fact, when we had that race cam chat, indicated he'd like to have been able to keep the pace on a little more on Mark Scaife, keep the pressure on him.
But he's got the cooking engine in today, of course. Yesterday, I believe they were making 630 horsepower for the shootout.
Yes, I think they might have had a very special motor prepared for qualifying yesterday. Got pole, but at the moment, it's Mark Scaife out in front, doing it comfortably, 18+ seconds in front. Down to the end of Conrod Straight.
So Mark Scaife continues to lead the great race. Dick Johnson, car 17, hanging in second. Win Percy aboard the first of the Holden Racing Team Commodores in third. Klaus Needswitz in car 10, one of the Moffat Sierras, moving out the 5. The second of the Works GTRs with Anders Ollison at the wheel.
Well, Mark Scaife will be looking for his second Bathurst victory if he can take the checkered flag here today. He's 19, nearly 20 seconds ahead now of Dick Johnson in the 17 Shell car. Dick, of course, a two-time winner here previously and looking for number 3.
That gap between second and third doesn't seem to have changed at all, Gary.
No, still 20 seconds.
Johnson.
Yeah, 20 seconds. It's the leader that's getting away a fraction, half a second of lap at the moment.
Well, as we said all week, the cracking pace these Nissans, they proved it last year that they can run at a very consistent, very fast pace all day. And if no one can keep up with them, they're getting at least a second lap advantage. You just can't let guys get away from you that quickly in that period of time.
Outside of the gap 1 to 2, the next big gap is between 5th and 6th, between the second Winfield Nissan car and the 15 Holden HRT 10 car.
The word we've had is that there will be heavy rain at the circuit in 1 hour or less, and there's some action in the pits. The boys are getting out the wet weather tyres.
Down to you, John.
Yes, thanks very much, Dougie. It's getting a little cold down here, and already you've got the tyres getting set up. Over on the end there, you have the first set of intermediate tyres, which they would go to. They've got 2 grades of intermediates. The second one here, a slightly thicker tread, some tread that is more recognisable to the ones we'd use on our cars on the outside, and of course straightened on the inside. These again are a softer compound, and then you go to the full-on wet weather tyre, which looks basically like a very chunky road tyre. They are getting them all ready at the moment. Talk is heavy rain within the hour, and the interesting thing in all of this is while these pits get all their tyres ready, the Nissans are really taking their time over it because they can stay out without going to the intermediates for a lot longer than anybody else. And if it happens to go wet and go dry, they won't even have to stop, and that will just make this a cakewalk for them if the cars stay in one piece.
You're right, and if you come out of the garage, John, it's raining.
It's raining, all right.
Carports of the rich and famous.
It has started to, well, it's on the way to pouring here on pit straight.
And it's going to be very, very tricky out there as the rain comes in. We'll see what that throws up in the next hour or so of Australia's great race. Klaus Needswitz just getting it a little sideways coming out of the corner, and I think he might be one of the first to head to the pits. He's going to take the punt.
It's getting slippery out there.
The B&H BMW was going to do the same, but that'll give you an indication of how slippery it is.
Klaus.
So that's happening on the way into the pits. We'll keep an eye on what's happening around the racetrack.
You don't want that happening to you on top of the mountain. Klaus comes into the Moffat pit. Got the clocks going on him. A quick stop. Get the wets on. And they're also doing some refueling there as well, making it a mandatory stop. Weren't scheduled to come into the pits a bit later than this. Lap 32 was the first scheduled stop. And look at this. This is really raining now. Mount Panorama, the track's starting to get a sheen on it. They'll be able to survive out there on slicks for a few laps, but this is going to start getting very greasy. Ooh.
That's Anders Olofsson just coming up on the inside of Andrew Harris.
Well, I don't know if you believe in fate, but it's falling into Freddie Gibson's lap after all the political infighting about this car.
Now, with the race cam, the Dunlop race cam, travelling with Win Percy. Winner's running third on the road at the moment. The Moffat Sierra is in the pits. Let's go down.
Well, thanks very much, Mike. It was supposed to be just a quick tyre change, but Rudy Eggenberger suddenly jumped in with great deal of rush. It looks like they've got some problem down with the stub, but the quick tyre change that was meant to be is not. And at the moment, it could be the tie rod end by the way they're shaking the ends of the wheels on both sides. Some sort of steering problem anyway. And this is causing more than a little concern to Alan Moffat. It's supposed to be just a very quick change.
That looks like a turbo pipe.
Well, they've got a problem there. They had to come in 10 laps early, and this is going to create even further problems as the race unfolds, Doug.
Yeah, that class needs its pit stop is 10 laps earlier than was scheduled. If they go in 10 laps early, of course, it means a number of the lead cars coming in to do this sort of stop because of the rain will have to stop again. They'll have to schedule an extra stop.
There's been plenty of drama in the pits. Car 25, Tony Longhurst, went back in again. He's rejoined in 13th position, so all that hard work that Johnny Cicotto's done has been undone. So he heads it back out on the track, and look at the amount of water on the screen of the HRT Commodore. Win Percy driving very gingerly as they come into Caltech's chase. I'm sure Win will be on his way to the pits as well. There's going to be some sensational pit activity in here over the next 2 or 3 laps.
David Parsons in and out, and here's Dick Johnson coming in now to put on to wets. John Bauer stands there.
He's out of the car.
Dick's climbing out, and John Bauer, we take our friend the Holidays pit report.
Moffat Sierra, meanwhile, has been in the pits for 2 minutes, 20 seconds. They've dropped a lap.
The Peter Jackson Sierra entry, the 35 car with Wayne Park at the wheel, has been in and put wets on and rejoined the race. Car 35 has rejoined the race in 14th position.
So Win Percy stays out there on the slicks, as too does the car 1.
Great day at the office. Sierra, Turbo Sierra at Mount Panorama trying to catch up ground.
Meanwhile, car 20, the second of the B&H BMWs, has come into pit lane as Win Percy cuts his way through the spray. Dick Johnson has been in for wets. The car's rejoined in 5th position. Plenty of activity down in the pits. The Hull Morris, the second of the B&H BMWs. On go the wets. Plenty of drama and excitement. And we've just gone through the first hour of the race. In comes the second Brock car. Car 55, Andrew Medic. He locks the brakes and he gets on the wet concrete. Air jacks out. Tyres off.
There's a big problem for the Moffat team, Gary.
Yes, they've only got the one overhead, and they can't bring the 2 cars in at once. So while this one's still stuck there, the second one is out on the track and got to keep going around on the slicks.
On just the worst kind of tyre for these conditions.
Well, they're losing a lot of time doing this. And I see the 2 Nissans are both out on the track as well, so they're losing an equal amount of time. Car 10 in the pits, it's just rejoined.
That's Neatsvitz, and he's gone back and he's a lap down after that very long stop.
Olofsson, of course, has gone through. Winner's trying to make it to the pits, but Olofsson has gone through past Percy.
So it's Winfield Nissan 1-2.
The way it looks at the moment as they head down to Forest Elbow. Kevin Waldock there in the Ampol Playscape Ford Sierra, who had a stop earlier this morning. They had problems with that car. Trying to keep them straight on the exit to Mazda corner there.
There is a visual difference in track speed here as Anders Olofsson just moves away from car 16. Win just gingerly bringing the car down the mountain on slick tyres on a wet track, which is pretty hairy stuff.
I've just learned that the problem with Moffat's car, the 10 car, was the steering rack. The steering rack was in fact loose.
It's not the sort of thing you want to happen this early in the race.
Or in these conditions.
This is very, very slippery out there. Car 55, Andrew Medecki car, rejoins in 12th position, out on wets. So they're coming into the pits, one after the other.
Graham Moore heads into the pits, and I think you'll find that Win Percy will be pit bound now.
Percy follows him. I think that may be Kevin Waldock behind them. And the 2 Nissans
Can stay out there.
Out on the track on slick tyres.
And it looks like, as you said, Graham Moore coming in. Wayne Gardner, I can see, is getting ready. I think he's going to take over that car.
Oh, in the wet.
No, you talk about Bathurst rookies. Wayne Gardner's probably got the toughest job he's ever had in a car he's not completely happy with. HRT swings into pit lane. Car 16, Win Percy getting out. Alan Grice getting ready to get in. Meanwhile, Graham Moore has brought the Strathfield Car Radio's Commodore in. And yes, Wayne Gardner is getting in. So Wayne's going to have a crash course.
Wrong one.
Maybe the wrong choice of words there.
Richard Hayes in the pits there covering that for us, Richard. Probably trying to get out of the way here because Gricey's ready to roll.
Well, I've set the clock on that, 30 seconds. Good, slick stop. 16 rejoins in 6th position. Meanwhile, Wayne Gardner struggling to get his belts on. Graham Moore giving him some last-minute instructions.
Well, if he thought this was a handful in qualifying in the dry, he's in for the ride of his life now.
Wayne wasn't happy with the handling characteristics of the car in the dry at all, and I imagine all of those problems will be magnified in these conditions. Not a happy Vegemite.
Well, he's a guy, and here we are. Brock back in the pits. What a miserable day for Peter Brock.
Yes, that's true. I mean, he couldn't have got off to a worse start, but the way this is panning out with the weather and all, it's going to give him his best chance to at least get back in the fight here somewhere.
Rain is certainly the great equaliser. We've seen Brocky up here in Commodores before. Spectacular handling of a big Holden V8 in the wet.
And he couldn't see another problem on the inside. The windscreen was all fogged up. But there's probably a great variation in temperatures around the circuit when top and bottom.
And certainly when you get a sudden drop in temperature, the rain hits, the cabin temperature makes all the screen fog up, which a lot of these guys are suffering now.
Let's throw down to John Brady.
Yes, thanks very much, Mike. Brocky, as Wilco said, it's probably in some ways the better thing to happen for him. Very quick stop from Peter Brock. He probably sees this as a bit of a chance, although obviously any real prospect has gone already. But down in the pits at the moment, there are so many cars with tyre changes. It is near chaos. Gardner coming out, almost collected. Brock coming in, and as much excitement in here as they get in and out as there will be when they go sliding around the top of the mountain.
Meanwhile, car 18 in the pits as well, the second of the Dick Johnson entries. Greg Crick, I believe, getting into the car.
Terry Shield drove the opening stint in this car, is now handed over to Greg Crick.
You said earlier, Mark, that rain was the great equaliser. Well, Fred Gibson has just said there's no plan really for them to come into the pits. They've got the four-wheel drive. They're staying out there.
Unbelievable.
The 18 Shell car has rejoined the race in 11th position.
And that is one of the great advantages of the GTR. And Anders Olofsson has now moved up behind car number 1, Mark Scaife.
Whoa! Oh. Now there's a classic example of understeer. Brocky on his brand new Bridgestone wets, going straight on as he comes up through the cutting. That's an indication of just how slippery it is out there.
The David Parsons Wayne Park, Peter Jackson Sierra, has been in.
Glenn Seaton's been in and changed tyres, rejoins in 7th position.
So they're all coming in. You can just see how wet it is out here. The rain's still coming down quite heavily on pit straight. And that dry line you can see through the wet there is slowly being consumed by the water. And it is a remarkable indication, as Michael said before, the Nissan's still out on slick tyres, still putting in quite effective lap times. Peter Brock, 9 times winner, not the best start to the great race. But as long as Brocky's out on the track, there's always a chance of a good result.
Sliding past the NEC entry of the W635 with care.
It's all been new for Brocky because I rather doubt they've done one lap in the VP in the wet. Anywhere in testing.
It's very difficult to get a car set up. I guess a lot of these guys, ones who are clued into the fact that the weather may have changed, may have gone for an intermediate setup on their suspension settings. But if the car's set up for dry weather running, it'd be pretty atrocious in the wet.
Mark Scaife continuing to lead. In the number 1 car, Anders Olofsson runs in second. Nissan 1-2 at the moment. 15, Thomas Mazera in third spot. Dickie Johnson in 17. Then followed by Alan Grice, Win Percy. Then Perkins in number 11 and Glenn Seaton in number 30. That's the order jumbled up. And after coming in, car number 42, Wayne Gardner, now position 19.
Rain Gardner, they've written him up as on the scoreboard. I think that's quite amusing. Brutus with his sense of humour working on the commentary team once again.
So, car 1 stays out on slicks. Mark Scaife, cool, calm and collected.
That's confident, isn't it, to go out in this weather on slick tyres when everybody else is running around on wets.
Well, as you can see, this sort of the flat part of the track that has...